there is no woman who could honor and respect a man she is caring for. To her, he is like her little boy. This is why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's work is so difficult, for he is not a leader to lead us to jobs, justice, and equity alone. His mission is the resurrection of us from a state of mental, moral, and spiritual death. This is absolutely the hardest job any human being can have, to transform a mind that has been broken to such a degree that the divinity of the male is hardly seen, even in those of us who achieve much, quote, success in the world. He goes on, I thank Allah, God, for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his 44 years of dedicated sacrifice, suffering, and hard work to raise the black man mentally, morally, and spiritually from the condition that 400 years of slavery, free labor, and injustice have put us in. You know, we know the Quran reads, and it's a law, and there are no conditions. It says men are the maintainers of women. But maintenance implies a condition that you are keeping as is. So what do we do as a people? Because we don't want to maintain this condition. But if we would begin by restoring the practice of the protection of the black woman, provision will come out of that. Why? Because we have predators in our community. We generate nearly $1 trillion a year in this economy. You and I are not in need of jobs. We are in need of taking control of what already belongs to us. And that begins in real life with the family, which means the restoration of love between the man and the woman, and that only comes when we clean up the community and rid it of strangers, and also rid it of those among us who have become like beasts and reptiles. This is something we're not going to be able to avoid. Now, he goes on and finishes by saying that we cannot renew the mind of the male and female until we uproot the idea that now rules our minds and replace it with the ideas of Allah, God. The scholars and scientists of this world do not have a clue as to how to bring about the transformation of human life, particularly the life of black man and woman. This is why we praise Allah for his presence in Master W. Farad Muhammad and the great work of reform, resurrection, and transformation that he began, that we are attempting to continue and bring to a new and higher level today. Then he leaves two instructions here. One is to any man that reads what he wrote, and the other is to the men of the Nation of Islam. He says to the men who read this article, because if we read it, that's a step in and of itself. You finish reading that article, you're actually gonna feel uplifted and enlightened. It's gonna clear away some of the bestial thoughts. He says to the men who read this article, cherish a virtuous woman. And to the men of the Nation of Islam, seek a female from the class that is producing such women, and be good men and husbands to them. Now, you heard Brother Fontaine earlier that you must get hold of Minister Farrakhan's interview earlier this week, just a few days ago, on Cliff Kelly here in Chicago, WVON Radio. He is actually engaged in leading us now. We're actually on the move, whether we know it or not. The train is pulling out of the station. The plane is backing up. They're pulling the tube thing back that you board with. It's actually happening. And if you listen to and learn about his recent visit to the Caribbean, he was there calling upon our people to unite as it was written that they would for greater productivity, cooperation, so that we can gain economic and political independence. And insofar as the issue of the black woman, her elevation, beloved, it's not a policy or a practice. It's part of our belief system. It's number 11 of what the Muslims believe. We believe our women should be respected and protected as the women of other nationalities are respected and protected. And by the way, there's something else in here, and we believe, and I know I'm dealing with the subject of male and female, but this is up under that, and it's a necessary step, and that's number 9 of what the Muslims believe. I think it's important as we sit and have insults levied at us by these people who are running to sit in the seat of President of the United States. He writes here, we believe that the offer of integration is hypocritical and is made by those who are trying to deceive the black peoples into believing that their 400-year-old open enemies of freedom, justice, and equality are all of a sudden their friends. Furthermore, we believe that such deception is intended to prevent black people from realizing that the time in history has arrived for the separation from the whites of this nation. If the white people are truthful about their professed friendship toward the so-called Negro, they can prove it by dividing up America with their slaves. So if you are so real, we don't want to live in your neighborhood. We need to sit at the table and divvy up this land that we built from a wilderness of nothing into the greatest power on the earth. They love to talk about the 10th Amendment and states' rights. Let's talk about the 10th Amendment. Let's. We want some land and territory right here where our parents died for ourselves. So let's sit down at the table and let's have a real discussion, because we have never, ever voted for or determined what we want. All of this 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment to the Constitution, we didn't sit down. We weren't in Congress. That's what white people decided as a temporary measure of what to do with us and about us. And the messenger has said, there's too many of us now for us to function as a servant class. There's too many of us. So there has to be a permanent solution. We do not believe America will ever be able to furnish enough jobs for her own millions of unemployed. This goes back to 1965. And here we are in that reality. She can't furnish jobs for her own millions of unemployed, in addition to jobs for the 20 million black people. Now there's 40 to 60 million of us. We've got to do for self. So I'm going to close with another reference for you. And in that same issue of the final call, Mother Tainetta Muhammad, wife of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, has an article, and an Islamic scholar in her own right who is world renowned, has an article, a continuing article in the Final Call newspaper called Unveiling the Number 19. And in order to give you a real-time example of what is meant by the elevation of the woman, because as I said earlier, there's this misconception that Islam is the Arab culture. And this makes a lot of our women turn away without giving this a try because of the horrific treatment of women in so many Arab and African countries. But when we talk about the elevation of the woman, you know, if you read Mother Tynetico's articles, they will feed your mind a different vision of yourself and for yourself than the one that the white man has given you. And this article that I want to read from, and she refers to the minister's travels. Now, when the minister talks about the class that's producing the woman that you should marry, that class includes, but it is by no means limited to the instruction that we receive weekly. As a woman evolves in Islam, her experience should broaden, and she goes out into the earth to represent these teachings and to provide original women of the world with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of their true identity. And so in relation to the surah we opened with, the 57th surah, knowing that we are at war because of the plan of the enemy to uproot Islam, here are some words of Mother Tynetta. And this article is entitled, "The Rise of the Nation of Islam to Eminence in the Years 2012 and 2013. And she writes here, this is so powerful what she writes. The whole series is, but right here, ever since the Million Man March in October 1995, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been raising, by God's permission, an army of righteous, conscious people to wage a battle of truth against falsehood without carnal weapons or instruments of war that are being stockpiled by the Western powers the world over. Our weapons are rather the words of truth, and our spiritual armament is that of God Himself as our buckler and shield. Now, having come full circle around the globe, the islands, the Caribbean islands, are receiving the divine news of salvation to rebuild the wasted cities and unite with our families and communities from all corners of the earth in a new kingdom and world of complete surrender to the world of God and the making of peace. So, brothers and sisters, if we continue, beloved, to just sit in place and do not move out to rid our community of every beast, reptile, and predator fowl, black or white, because the minister spoke earlier this week of the fiery serpents. These are angry Caucasian people coming in our community many times in uniforms of officers. And hardly a day goes by that one of our brothers or sisters is not beaten or killed by the law enforcement authority of white America. So if the jaguar can mark his territory and take on the crocodile, take on the anaconda, if the rooster can take on the hawk, then the highest, most advanced life in the universe, the Asiatic black man must get up today, inspired and motivated by the demonstrated strength and courage of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And we can't have fear because we have seen the power of the mighty ship that is floating in the air above this civilization with a higher knowledge. And that ship, if anybody or anything moves against Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, that ship will finish off this world, he stated this week, in less than 12 hours. Less than 12 hours, it will all be over. Since the time we were brought here in chains, the black woman has been disrespected, mistreated, humiliated by the white man, while he, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, as wicked and evil as the white man is, he stops and takes time to force you, black man, to respect his woman. And he has taught you to disrespect the black woman. Only the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who met God face to face, take it or let it alone, and now his apostle and divine representative, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you cannot show me any man, black or white, anywhere that has the power to tell the black woman to put her clothes on. And she does it. No one else is elevating us to the true position as mother of civilization. And I close finally with these words from Mother Tainetto Muhammad. We, the lost found nation of Islam, displaced from our kith and kin in a strange land that is not our own, we have been found by a benevolent Savior. We have been identified as the lost nation of Asia on the farthest side of the western horizon. We now must fulfill the completion of the prophetic history, carrying out the mandate of a merciful God to be placed back as the head of a new world government of freedom, justice, and equality for all. May Allah bless all of you with love and peace and happiness. I thank you so much for your patience and your understanding as I leave you in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Student Minister Ava Muhammad, let's put our hands together for our beloved sister, one of our very best in the ministry of the Nation of Islam under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Wasn't that wonderful? I hope that you were inspired as much as I was. My dear brothers and sisters, we thank Allah for Student Minister Ava Muhammad. We are blessed by her presence. We are happy to announce that she will be quite a regular speaker here at Mosque Maryam. So it won't be far and in between when we hear from Student Minister Ava Muhammad. We'll be hearing from her every month, Allah willing, and even perhaps more than once a month, because she's right here in Chicago with us. All praise is due to Allah. How many of you are visiting us today for your very first time? We just want to recognize you, acknowledge you by a show of hands. My brothers, sisters, welcome, welcome. How many of you believe that what you heard this morning to be the truth and good for our people? May I see your hands? All praises due to Allah. How many of you were inspired and motivated by Student Minister Ava Muhammad's message this morning, and you would like to learn more of the teachings and the program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and would like to become a part of the Nation of Islam and unite with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? How many of you would like to do that? Let me see your hands. Raise them high. My sisters, here's our Student Minister Ava Muhammad on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan would like at this time to have the honor and the privilege of shaking your hand and welcoming you today to the Nation of Islam here at Mosque Maryam. Those brothers and sisters that raised their hand, please stand up where you are without feeling bashful. Come on down, my dear brothers. Come on down, my dear sisters. Make your way to the center aisle as Sister Student Minister Ava Muhammad will extend her hand from the hand of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on his behalf to welcome you today to the Nation of Islam. All praises due to Allah. The dear sisters that raised their hand, make your way to the center aisle. The brothers who raised their hand, please make your way to the center aisle. All praises due to Allah. All of those who remain with us that are watching via webcast, and those in our live audience here at Mosque Maryam, we want to remind you that Savior's Day is February the 24th through the 26th. This year, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan will deliver the keynote address entitled 2012. What would it bring to the world, for America, and for black people? His lecture, his timely message, as always, will be delivered from the United Center here in Chicago on Sunday, the 26th of February, 2 p.m. All of those that are watching, please get your tickets to see Minister Louis Farrakhan before Minister Ava takes her leave. Let us give another warm round of applause for her wonderful lecture. All praises due to Allah. You can get a copy of today's lecture right next door. Right next door, you can get a copy, and those of you who are watching online can order. I'm sure there is store.finalcall.com. Very good. So, Brother Fontaine has a few announcements to make. And we ask after the announcements, the collection, and the prayer is said, we just have a few local announcements to make after the prayer. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Brothers and sisters, once again, assalamu alaikum. Can we give it up once again for Sister Student Minister Ava Muhammad, y'all? All praise is due to Allah. Brothers and sisters, may I ask you a question? Do you feel more alive and spirit-filled and educated than you did when the doors opened at 10 a.m.? Give yourselves as well a tremendous round of applause for your attendance. Live from Mosque Maryam throughout the entire nation and those watching via the internet. Brothers and sisters, I'd like to begin, and I'm asking if you would please just hold your seats for just a moment. You know I did my best in the early portion of our program to teach on the magnificent principle of zakat or charity. I was given a correction by our beloved minister, and I want to share that correction with everyone, so please give me your undivided attention for just a moment. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan wanted me to know and to remind each of us that some of the funds from the number 2 poor is used for him and his family's needs. But the 3-year economic plan is solely used for the nation's development. I'm going to read that one more time. Some of the funds from the number 2 poor is used for him and his family's needs, but the 3-year economic plan is solely used for the nation's development. Is that clear? All praise is due to Allah. Y'all with me, right? All praise is due to Allah. I thank my dear minister for that correction. And inshallah, I'm working on perfecting my representation of our beloved minister and our nation with all of my heart, mind, and soul. With that being said, we want to ask our brothers and sisters from the Ministry of Finance live from Mosque Maryam. We're asking that those mosques and study groups please follow our lead. And for those who are also watching via the internet, we're going to ask you to support this great cause as well. Will you please now reach into your pockets and into your purses to support the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the mission of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the building of a nation. For those who can give a $1 donation, $5 donation, $10 donation, 50 or more, will you please take it out of your pocket and out of your purses now and let us live from Mosque Maryam begin to circulate the receptacles. Let us begin on the first row in every mosque and in every study group. If you have a check that you would like to make out today, will you please take out that check and make it payable to the Nation of Islam? Once again, if you have a check that you would like to make payable today, will you please take out your check and make it payable to the Nation of Islam? I want to thank each and every one of you for your charity as the receptacles are circulating live from Mosque Maryam. I'll use this moment to make some announcements so we can kind of move the program along. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you, brothers and sisters, for whatever you are able to sacrifice this morning. We're talking as little as a penny, and whatever that comes after that. We thank Allah for your sacrifice. We thank Allah for your precious time. We thank you for the energy that you have brought to Mosque Maryam and throughout our nation today. Our prayer is that Allah will continue to enrich and to bless each and every one of us. For surely when you give $1 in Allah's cause, Allah absolutely will repay us for the best of what we did. I want to also remind us that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has shared with us that for those who may not have as much as 1 penny to give, if you just have the desire in your heart to give, Allah will bless each and every one of us just for the desire to give in this great and noble cause. I want to present to some and introduce to others this great DVD that Minister Ava, I believe she mentioned WVON. But for those who know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was blessed to tour the Caribbean, Jamaica, Haiti, St. Kitts. He spoke all over the island, all over the Caribbean. That DVD is available to each and every one of us. It's available live here at Mosque Maryam. Come on next door to the Muhammad University of Islam. For those watching via the internet, store.finalcall.com. Again, store.finalcall.com. We also want to remind you that today's message from Student Minister Ava Muhammad is also available right next door, or visit us on the Final Call e-store. We also want to bring to your attention this great timely message from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan delivered on the Cliff Kelly Show on January the 9th. Please get your DVD, brothers and sisters. It was 2.5 hours of wisdom, knowledge, power, and uplift. This DVD is available next door, or visit us again at store.finalcall.com, or you can call us toll-free at the Final Call. That number is 866-602-1230, extension 200. I also want to present to some and introduce to others 2 new books from our Historical Research Department. The first one, this small yet powerful book of guidance entitled How White Folks Got So Rich. It is available to each and every one of us. It's only $6. It will make a tremendous impact in your life. We can use the tactics that they used in a positive way. We want to use good to create wealth in our community. We want to learn about what they did to become so rich and how their richness has ill-affected each and every one of us. I also want to introduce to some and present to others another landmark book from the Historical Research Department entitled Defending Farrakhan. This is a book that each and every one of us should read, should study. It puts us in a position to better defend the man that we know and love, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It's available next door as well. Last but not least, brothers and sisters, we're asking for a tremendous groundswell of support for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on Twitter. Brother Jason introduced a beautiful message that was tweeted by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in his early presentation. You want to follow our beloved minister at twitter.com/Louis Farrakhan. Again, twitter.com/Louis Farrakhan. I also want to ask for your support, brothers and sisters, as we close out, to support the greatest news organ found anywhere in America or throughout the world. It's the Final Call newspaper. 40 pages, brothers and sisters. All praise is due to Allah. It's wisdom, knowledge, power, guidance, uplift. You won't find the news that is contained in the Final Call anywhere else in America or throughout the world. It's published by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We're asking you to subscribe to the Final Call newspaper, share it with as many family members and friends as you can, and when you see a beautiful, handsome brother out on the corner on 79th and Stony or somewhere in Los Angeles, California, or Houston, Texas, or Miami, Florida, don't act like you don't see the brother. Stop. Roll down your window and support a young man who is literally laying down his life for you and me, little messengers all over America. We thank Allah for each and every FOI. And we thank Allah for the great MGT that support us and many who actually sell the Final Call newspaper at work to their neighbors and who get subscriptions to this great newspaper. That ends my national announcements. We're going to close out as we open. Brothers and sisters, I want to thank you once again for your charity. Live from Mosque Qayyam, will you please stand? For those who are watching throughout our entire nation of Islam, please follow our lead. And those watching via the internet, we're going to close in prayer. Hold on for 1 second, Minister Ishmael.
Before we close the prayer, I want to remind all of us, as tomorrow is celebrated in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., don't let the enemy allow us to reduce him to a dream. Dr. King's life was not a dream. And what Dr. King stood for, fought for, and paid his life for was to be a drum major for justice. He lived his life and struggled to see the condition of his people improved. And he did more for white America than he did for black America, in that he helped them to see their own injustice and evil and wicked ways in their treatment of black people. So as we honor Dr. King, let us remember what he stood for. And anyone that stands for justice is going to be opposed and rejected, not only from those outside of his own community, but he will also be rejected and opposed by members of his own community. And Dr. King was rejected by the black church. Dr. King was driven and rejected in this city of Chicago. Dr. King paid one heck of a price. And so I just thought that I would just remind us, as we will hear over and over and over the clip and the speech, I have a dream, and to make us think that Dr. King's life was all about a dream to see white and black together. He wanted to see justice. Justice first for his own people, and he wanted to see justice for the human family. Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, let us please assume the position of prayer. It's prayer time. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment. Thee alone do we serve, and Thee alone do we beseech for help. O Allah, guide us along the straight path, the path of those upon whom You have bestowed favors, not the path of those upon whom Your wrath has been brought down, nor of those who go astray. Say He, Allah, is one. Allah is He of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begets not, nor is He begotten, and there is none likened unto Him. And O Allah, we beseech Your help and ask Your mercy, for we believe in You and trust in You for all that we need. We are helpers in Your cause with Your apostle. Please grant to us success. For I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is His messenger. Ameen. Thank you, brothers and sisters, once again for the registered and processing.